morning. Wow, it is such a morning. We woke up to thunderstorms and it's just been an absolute mess. There was water coming in through a bathroom vent. We think maybe just it blew off. And to get to my studio, I had to go like through the thunderstorm. And so like I had planned on like doing my hair and like getting all ready and like, you know, looking absolutely fabulous for this first live stream in several months. And I'm like coming into the studio and it's just like pouring buckets of rain. And I'm like, well, if my hair is dry, I will consider it a win. And it's dry, so it's a win. So a few things I wanted to talk to you about today. One is, where have I been? So like just really quick, I wanted to kind of touch base with you all about why I took a sabbatical during the late spring and early summer. And it's for some really exciting things. Mainly, we bought a house. Okay, so the really short version of this story is that we were dedicated to our old house. I mean, I've posted about that house for years on Craft Leftovers. We love that house. It's a beautiful house. I just got paranoid about my sound, so I'm going to stop mid-sentence and check real quick. Hold on. Okay, so the really short version of... All right, doesn't sound terrible. We're going with it. So also forgot my light boxes. I have no idea where they are after the move. In the process of trying to set up this morning, I managed to crack my secondary monitor. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Here we are. That's just, you know, gave you a little crazy eye there. Anyway, so we were really dedicated to our house. And then we were coming down on doing some major renovations. Your typical house stuff, like nothing, there were some things that were like bigger, but a lot of it was like, okay, let's go ahead, get the roof, get the siding, the driveway and patio needs to be redone. You know, let's go ahead and look at new windows, because some of the windows are just, I've tried to fix them and they're just, it would be hard pressed to fix them. So we got it all quoted out, and we realized that because of the short duration of a home equity loan, combined with like interest rates are really high right now, it was gonna like triple if not quadruple our mortgage. And we're even talking to the contractor and we're like, would you do this? And he's like, because there were some things about the house that we would, even with fixing it up very nice, we would never get around without, you know, doing an addition. And then there's other things we just wouldn't get around. Mainly the neighborhood we live in is in a party area. For those of you who live in campus towns, you totally know what this means. So basically, it's not like the frat neighborhood, but it's like where everyone goes off campus to party. So every weekend, pretty much the whole summer and some parts of the winter, there's these banging parties, like loud bass, kegs, beer cans everywhere. And when we were in our 20s and early 30s, we were like, okay, you know, yeah, it's fine. Haha, it's kind of funny, you know? We're just kind of over it. Like, I know it's good to have like mixes of people in neighborhoods, but we're just tired. And looking at Lucy getting older, we were like, do we really want her to be able to walk to 4 different keggers as a teenager within a block radius? And we trust her, but that's also, that's a lot of temptation to sneak out and, you know, so shenanigans. So yeah, so we were like, well, what if we quadrupled our mortgage, what could we get? And we looked and there was nothing. So we're like, well, I guess we're getting this home equity loan. We're good with what we got because we do love our home. And so we go on this drive because we're like, well, let's figure this out. What are we doing? Are we going to try to do some of the work ourselves? Should we get other quotes? You know, etc. And we drove up this road of this area in town that we love. And we're like, man, it'd be easy to move if we were moving to a place like this. Like, that would be an easy yes. But we could never afford that. That's way outside of our options. And then we drove by, and just as we were like saying this and kind of like, yeah, I guess we're doing this home equity loan thing, we look off to the left. There's a for sale sign in this house's yard that we have literally drove past for the last 15, maybe even 20 years, saying, wow, what a beautiful house, what a beautiful area, what a beautiful neighborhood, land, etc. Because it's like a wooded lot. And we're like, let's just pull in. That's so dangerous. And it was like, what could we do? Like, how much is this house? It looks a little, you know, like it needs some work. Like our house, it needs work, but it looks like it's work we could do ourselves. And because of our old house, we know exactly how to do it. And so we pull in, and we're like, well, let's just look up the listing. We're like, yeah, that's a little high. That's a little, but I don't know. We've been saving a lot. We've paid off all our debt. Maybe if we got rid of some things that are kind of luxury things in our lives right now, like me going to a trainer at the gym, like that's totally, I can live without that. And we're like, well, maybe. We did just pay off that other stuff. Maybe. Well, let's just call the real estate agent. Maybe this place is terrible inside. She's like, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And we're like, uh-oh. So we do a walkthrough right there and then. And we're like, oh, crap. This is our dream house. Like, every single item that we've talked about wanting in a house, like, would be worth moving for. Because we always said we wouldn't move within the city of Ames unless it was to, like, our dream house. It wouldn't be for, like, a slight upgrade. It would be like, this is it. This is where we're living. And this was, like, every single thing. And, we're like, well, crap. What if maybe? Should we try? We have to at least try. And we're like, well, with a property like this, we have to either try or not try because it's like we have to go, like, all in on this because it's going to sell fast. That it was still on the market was weird. So we go to the bank. We're like, oh, we actually can do this. Okay, this is an option. So we call another real estate agent, go for a second walkthrough that night with our daughter, and we're like, okay. And now here's the really funny thing. We have some friends who are super into, like, they just love looking at houses. And so they have a much better feel for the market. They also are very much the kind of folks who are like, you make money when you purchase a house, not when you sell it. Like, they're very much about, like, making sure it's a good investment from the start. And so we're like, our parents don't live in town. And even though we're like we're 40, we're like, we've only ever bought one house. We're not experienced at this. And so we call our friend and we're like, hey man, could you come like do the walkthrough with us on this house? And he's like, yeah, I'll be there. So he shows up and he's like, and we're like, would you buy this house? And he's like, oh yeah, definitely. And it was just getting that extra push from a friend who we know has experience in this kind of stuff was like, okay, we're not being idiots. Like, we think it's a good deal. We think it's a great house, great property that has a lot of potential value that could be added on top of what it already is there, which is great. And we're like, well, what would you do? What would you offer? And we just like straight up took his advice. We were like, yep, all right, that's what we're doing. And it was intense. It was so intense. There was like rounds of inspections and back and forth, and there was so many times where we thought it was going to completely fall through. But every single time it was like, well, we have to try. And if we're going to try, we need to apply ourselves fully to this effort. And it kind of reminded me about how like Littlewoods happened, or even the book, or my mural that I did back in Campus Town, where it was like, it felt like something completely out of reach, but so amazing that I'm like, well, I have to try. And if I'm going to try, I'm going to go fully for it and apply all of my resources and energy towards this goal because it's worth it. And I'm not going to stop trying until there's a definitive no, this is off the table. And there's definitely been things in my life where it's like, this is a definitive no, and it becomes off the table. Or there's been things in my life where I'm like, oh, I should do this, and that should. It's like, that's a kiss of death. If it's a should, it's probably not going to happen in that same like ferocity of intention that happened with like the house and with Littlewoods. Like, I think back to when we opened Littlewoods, like we thought it was going to fail. Like we were like a week out and we're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to open because of all the stuff that was going on with health code things and inspectors being in conflict with each other. Like one inspector would come in and tell us like, oh yeah, this looks great. And then the other inspector would come in for like the same stuff, like the city inspector or the state health inspector. And it was just like, you guys said this is what we needed to do to open. And then they're like changing the guidepost. So yeah, we finally got through it, and we bought the house, and then we faced the prospect of like, well, we got that done, but now we need to sell our house. So end of March, like the last week of March, all of April into May was like buying the house, and then part of May, June, and part of like literally up until last Wednesday was selling the house and moving. And so we have finally sold our house, which is so exciting. I'm really excited for the people who are moving in there next because I know they're going to fix it up and do a great job. They're construction guys. They know what's what. They're just everything that we wanted to do with the house that we did not have the skills to do, they are just going to make happen so fast. And that's really exciting. New house, all of our stuff is there. And like I said, I can't even find my light boxes. So it's a little disorganized, but we are carving out areas of organization. The kitchen, the living room, our bedroom spaces are all very close to good. And then it's like the garage and our studios that are like just a disaster. So, I guess I had this whole plan of what I was going to talk to you all today about doing things for the promotion. And I think it's a really great episode, and it's something that I'm really excited to talk to you about. But we're already at 8:19. And as I started talking to you about this house idea, and like kind of going for stuff, I think that's what I actually want to talk to you about instead. So, I know this is a new time. I know new schedule, all those kinds of things. So, but if you find me later, after this live stream is over, and this makes you think of a time in your life where you've really gone for something, I would love to hear that story. Leave a comment, send me an email through the contact form or through Ko-Fi. Let me know. And now, the other thing that turned out to be okay, but was at the time rather scary, is right after we moved into this house, I had my first breast cancer scare. And, I feel like a lot of people hear about breast cancer and it's almost like, oh, it's, it's not terminal. You'll be fine. It's no big deal. Well, let me tell you, that's a load of crap. Like, anytime there's something going on with your body and you don't know what it is, and I swear this is going to circle back around to what I was just saying about going all in on things, and you don't know what's going on in your body, and you are tired beyond reason, and scared, and the doctors don't know what's going on, and you're waiting for these tests, and you're waiting for these appointments, and you're having to reschedule your life around it, which is creating stress because it's causing work to pile up. But then you're also just kind of at your emotional limit because you're thinking like, crap, this could be it. And the options that I was given were like, this could be nothing at all. Like, I smile and laugh when I'm like, oh, this sucked. Like, you got to laugh through this kind of stuff. The options really were, this is totally benign. This is no big deal. You'll be fine. Worst case, it is something that will have to be removed. But there's treatments and things, and you'll be okay. Or, and I think this was like, they really wanted to make sure that I followed through on things and getting checked. And so they like kind of put the fear in me to make sure that I followed through and didn't just like, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal. Because what if it's not? And that given my symptoms, that the other option was a more rare, but not unseen, kind of breast cancer that is called like inflammatory breast cancer. And basically 6 to 12 months. So like nothing at all. Or 6 to 12 months. Crap. Like, what? These are the things we face all the time. Like, many people face this situation. I'm not unique. I think all of us at some point in our life, if not multiple times in our life, are going to face these conversations with our medical practitioners. So thankfully, it was not the rare thing. It was the common thing. And once they addressed the infection that was happening, they could clearly see a benign tumor. That's rather common. So yes, a tumor. No, not cancer and death. So, it really, yeah. If you feel something going on with you, go get it checked. That's all my advice for that. So it worked out okay. But now this is where we're going to swing it back around. There was about a 2-week period, and especially like when this first started happening, when they really weren't sure, and the first couple appointments were very like worrisome. There was a couple sleepless nights where I'm laying in bed, and there was a storm. So my daughter came and snuggled in next to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to be here for her in a year? Whew. Even though I'm fine, thinking back to that time, I'm tearing up. And it really made me think about if I only had a year, if I only had 6 months of really good health, how would I live my life? And I've got and this is the really good news. I realized I'd live it pretty dang close to how I'm living it now. And that the place we just bought, that's a place that would be amazing to live out my life in. And whether it's a year or 40 years, hopefully it's the 40. I just turned 40 this April, and so I'm hoping for 40. But it was very clarifying. But there are things I would change. And I realized one of the things I would change is I would pick those things to go all in on. And instead of thinking about how someday maybe, I would really go for it. Like, 3 things really came to mind. One is spending really quality time, probably in an annoying way to my kid, and maybe even to my husband, but that I would spend time like really being present with my family and building things that, like Lucy in particular, can cherish into the future beyond when we're here. You know, the things she'll look back onto her childhood and think like, you know, not, wow, my parents worked a whole lot to provide for me, which is true, but she would also think, and it's like, it's not that I need to put off working to make this happen for her, but like, that when I'm with her, I'm really with her. That like, when she says, hey mom, can you help me with this craft thing? That I put down what I'm doing and I go for it instead of saying, oh, I can't right now, I'm too busy. Because a lot of times the stuff I'm busy with, I could put off to another time. And I think this is like particularly a thing for entrepreneurs, for small business owners, because you are going all in on your business, right? Like you are so passionate about it. You love it so much. I love it so much that sometimes it's easy to go all in on that stuff all the time, and then you don't carve out that really intentional time where you're fully present with the people who you really value. And I know other people who've had a cancer scare, who've had a major tragedy in their life, or maybe somebody close to them has passed, you know, some catalyst event, they've come to these same exact realizations. In a lot of ways, I don't feel like I'm saying anything new. But yeah, for me, that was the thing, is to like carve out time that's really intentional, where I'm very present with my kid, where I'm putting down my phone, where I'm doing activities that they love and enjoy. I'm looking at them when they're talking to me. All those kinds of things. So important. But then also that like, I do have this potential and this capacity, drive to pick a goal, like buying this dream house, right? And to really just put everything towards that goal. And I can really get blinders on. And so finding a way to do that and the other thing. And it's not that I'm not talking about work-life balance, because that's garbage. There is no balance. Sometimes I'm so lazy and I hang out on the couch and play video games with my kid for like hours. And then other times I don't play video games or anything for weeks, but I'm still making dinner and sitting down with my family and having quality time with them and reading bedtime stories or taking Lucy to the library and carving out those little pockets. In the times where I'm really pushing hard on a work project or something like that, that I'm also carving out this intentional time for these things that really matter, like my daughter, my partner, extended family, and close friends. Also things like taking an hour to just go for a walk in the woods, which are now my woods. Sorry, I'm so excited about this house. It's stupid. I can't believe we actually got this happen. Yeah, so that's kind of what I learned. And now, this kind of begs the question of like, what am I going all in on next? Like, where's my driving focus? Well, what came up in those, middle of the night thoughts was that I have a book that's about 2/3 written. I want to see that finished. That I created this amazing art project, the Migration Tapestry with Jason. And while initially I did a huge push to promote it and get things on the schedule for it, I've really gotten a little summer lazy. And so I want to get that, I want to get that out into the world. Yeah. So those are two of the big things. And then I have some ideas that I'm not even going to mention because those are also what's happening next. But it has to do with art and craft and Littlewoods, and I'm super excited about how that's all going to come together. So, yeah, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable for a short duration while you're just pushing to make an amazing thing happen. But then there is rest. And so July is a little bit of a rest period for us. It's super hot, so it's hard to do much outside. We're just going to be unpacking, getting organized. I'm really looking forward to some summer crafting, some socks, definitely knitting some socks. Lucy wants me to crochet her a shawl, which I'm really excited for. And I'm most happy to be visiting my local yarn shop and definitely picking out some yarn with her for that project. So that's kind of what we got going on. And then now you may have noticed this, or you may not have. That's okay. I'm in a different location. So here's the funny thing about this new house. While we can get internet, the internet is a bit of garbage. So I can't live stream from my home studio anymore. Now, I do plan on maybe taking some video snippets so I can give you a little bit of a house tour once we're settled in. And you'll see why we're so excited about this and why we're like, oh, this is worth the pain of moving for. So yeah, but we got big plans for back in August. We're going to start pushing hard again, which is really exciting too. And I think that's it. I think that's kind of it. And I might do more live streams than I used to. It might turn into an every Wednesday thing. It might not. I'm not exactly sure yet. We'll see what happens. But if it is, it'll always be at 8 a.m. because that's like a time I can make sure always happens even once Lucy starts school and when I'm working the T-bar downstairs at Littlewoods. And then there's some things I need to tell you about real quick. I'm trying to keep this to under half hour. So I realize that I just totally blew off all of the introduction, and that's fine. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a review if you're catching this in podcast form. And, if you go to craftleftovers.com/podcast, you can see all the back videos, transcripts, podcast links, like just the straight audio if you just want to listen to it. You can sign up for the newsletter so you can hear about what's new. And I did just start this new thing, and I think maybe this is a bit what I'll talk about next time I live stream, is you may have noticed, that you can support me at Ko-Fi. So if you go to ko-fi.com/Kristen M. Roach, if you sign up, and I think it starts at $7 as a supporter, like a monthly supporter, you unlock in the shop all of the digital patterns. For $10, you unlock all the digital patterns and zines. And then I also am posting like extra content. And once I get some more supporters, once I get some supporters, let's be real, I just started this, then I'll be adding more like extra content in the supporter feed specifically. So like behind the scenes looks, like maybe that's where that additional footage of the house tour will end up, peeks into the studio, things that I'm working on with craft and art, extra like kind of video content, glimpses into my sketchbook, that kind of thing. Or you can just, if you want to help me keep doing this, you can always just, buy me a spot of tea. And so anything really helps. And most of that, actually what it goes towards is server fees for craft leftovers to help maintain the archive and keep the website going. The Libsyn subscription fee, that kind of thing. I think my target goal is somewhere around like $100 to $200 a month would really help offset some of the costs of doing the podcast live stream and maintaining the craft leftovers archive. So that's kind of what that's about, like what the new button is about. So again, just like if you enjoyed hearing about this kind of journey I'm on with moving the house and the other creative business topics I've been covering over the last year, go ahead and sign up for that Craft Leftovers email, and I'll send you notices of when upcoming live streams are happening, when there's new patterns in the archive that have been updated, as well as just kind of like notes from what's going on. It's kind of fun. And I only send out 1 to 2 a month, so I'm not bombing your email box. And I think that's it. So until next time, which will be sooner rather than later, in 2 weeks, I'll be doing some live crafting, and maybe I'll finally get that music going. All right, until next time, bye. And how do I turn this off?